I sold shoes for a living, not my own shoes. I was head of sales at a mid-sized manufacturing company that made decent footwear for decent stores. Numbers, contracts, handshakes. I was good at it, calm, reliable. The kind of guy who closed deals over lunch and never raised his voice in a conference room. At home, I was furniture. Before we continue, we ask you to hit the hype button, subscribe, and like the video to help the channel grow. Tell us which city you are from in the comments. We would like to get to know our audience better. My name is Aaron Keller. I'm 34 years old. I've been married to Tara for 5 years, and for the last 3 of those years, I've watched her mother, Marjorie, slowly convince my wife that I'm not really part of the family. The text came on a Tuesday evening while I was sitting at our kitchen table, reviewing quarterly reports on my laptop. Tara was in the bedroom, packing. I heard the rustle of tissue paper, the zip of a suitcase. My phone buzzed. Mom wants this to be a family trip only, just us girls. You understand, right? I read it twice, then a third time. Japan. 2 weeks. Hotels I'd helped pay for. A trip Marjorie had been planning for months, talking about it at every dinner, every family gathering, always with this knowing smile, like she was letting me in on a secret. Except I wasn't in on anything. I looked up from the screen. Through the doorway, I could see Tara folding a dress. She didn't come out to talk to me. She just sent the text and kept packing. I set the phone down and stared at the kitchen counter. Clean granite. Expensive. I'd paid for the renovation 2 years ago, right after I'd given Tara $600,000 to turn her tiny online shoe shop into a real boutique with a storefront and inventory. My money, my contacts, my supplier relationships, her brand. I heard laughter from the bedroom. Tara had Marjorie on speakerphone. Marjorie's voice carried through the apartment, loud and pleased with itself. He'll understand his place, sweetie. Men like Aaron are lucky just to provide. Tara laughed. Not a nervous laugh. Not an uncomfortable laugh. Just agreement. I glanced at my phone. A notification popped up. A calendar reminder. Partnership agreement, year 3, review. I closed the laptop slowly. My hands didn't shake. My breath stayed even. But something inside me, something I'd been ignoring for a long time, finally clicked into place. They thought I was boring, safe, replaceable. They were about to find out how wrong they were. The next morning, I went to Tara's boutique. She'd asked me to swing by and help with a supplier issue, a rush order that hadn't arrived, the kind of problem I fix 3 times a month without being asked. The store was small but carefully designed. Hardwood floors, soft lighting, rows of elegant shoes displayed like art pieces. Tara had hired 2 young women to work the counter. They smiled at me when I walked in, but their smiles were polite, distant, the way you'd smile at a delivery guy. Tara was in the back office on the phone. She waved me in, mouthing, 1 second, and I stood there while she finished negotiating a discount with a vendor. When she hung up, she turned to me with a distracted look. The Italian shipment. Can you call Marco? Marco ran one of the factories I worked with. I'd introduced him to Tara 2 years ago. Now she acted like he was her contact. Sure, I said. I pulled out my phone and made the call. Marco answered on the second ring. We spoke in the shorthand of people who'd done business together for years. I explained the situation. He apologized for the delay, and within 5 minutes he'd promised to expedite the order at no extra cost. When I hung up, Tara was smiling. You're a lifesaver. She stood and walked past me into the main store where a customer had just entered. I followed, watching as she greeted the woman with warmth and energy, gesturing to a display of Italian leather boots. These just arrived, Tara said. I work directly with the artisans in Florence. It's all about relationships, you know? The customer nodded, impressed. I stood near the counter, hands in my pockets. One of the staff glanced at me. Are you here to help with paperwork? She asked quietly. Something like that, I said. Tara didn't introduce me, didn't acknowledge me. I was just there, part of the background, like the chairs or the potted plant by the window. I left 20 minutes later. Tara was still talking to the customer, and I didn't bother saying goodbye. That evening, Marjorie came over for dinner. She did this twice a week now, just showing up with a bottle of wine and a list of opinions. She was 58, tall and thin, with the kind of sharp features that looked elegant in photographs but cold in person. She'd been a travel agent before she retired, and she talked about it constantly, as if booking cruises for strangers made her an expert on life. We sat in the dining area, me, Tara, and Marjorie. I'd picked up Thai takeout on the way home. Marjorie wrinkled her nose at the containers. You couldn't cook something? She asked. I worked late, I said. She poured herself a glass of wine and turned to Tara. They started talking about Japan, hotels, restaurants. A ryokan in Kyoto that Marjorie had found online. She kept saying our trip and our itinerary, as if I wasn't sitting 3 feet away. Tara showed her pictures on her phone, cherry blossoms, temples, a photo of the two of them at a family reunion last year, arms around each other, smiling. It's going to be perfect, Marjorie said. Just us. Real family. I chewed my pad thai and said nothing. Marjorie glanced at me. You understand, don't you, Aaron? Women need time to bond. Mother-daughter trips are sacred. Sure, I said. And besides, she continued, someone has to stay here and make sure the bills get paid. Tara laughed. It was a small laugh, but it landed like a slap. I set down my fork and looked at her. She didn't meet my eyes. She just scrolled through more photos, her face lit by the glow of the screen. Marjorie leaned back in her chair, satisfied. Men like you are so practical, Aaron. That's a gift. You keep everything running while the rest of us chase dreams. I nodded slowly. Yeah, practical. After dinner, Marjorie left. Tara went to the bedroom to keep packing. I sat alone in the kitchen, staring at the empty takeout containers. My phone buzzed. A notification from the bank. Tara's business account. A charge for $8,000. Luxury luggage and travel accessories. I opened my banking app and scrolled through the recent transactions. Spa packages, shopping, dinner reservations in Tokyo that cost more than most people's monthly rent. I closed the app and opened my email instead. Scrolled down to a folder I'd created 3 years ago. Taraco, partnership agreement. I clicked it open, read the first few lines. Aaron Keller holds a 40% equity stake in Tara Lane Boutique LLC, with rights to transfer or sell shares at fair market value upon review. I'd signed this agreement when I gave Tara the money. She'd insisted on keeping majority control, and I'd agreed because I loved her and I wanted her to succeed. Now I wondered if she even remembered I owned part of her company. I closed the email and sat in the dark kitchen, listening to the sound of Tara humming in the next room. Practical. Yeah, let's see how practical I could be. The memory came back in pieces. I met Tara at a trade show in Los Angeles. She was running a tiny booth in the back corner, selling handmade shoes she'd designed herself. They were beautiful, unique stitching, bold colors, the kind of thing you'd see in a boutique in Soho. But she had no infrastructure, no suppliers, no way to scale. I stopped by her booth on the last day of the show. We talked for an hour. She was passionate, driven, full of ideas. I liked that. I liked her. We started dating a month later. 6 months after that, she told me she wanted to quit her day job and focus on the shoe business full time. She just needed capital. I had savings. A decent amount. Money I'd been setting aside for years, plus a small inheritance from my grandfather. Tara did the math and said she needed $500,000 to get started. A storefront, inventory, marketing. I gave her $600,000. I also gave her my supplier contacts, factories in Italy and Portugal that I'd worked with for years, wholesale buyers who trusted my judgment. I introduced her to people who could help her, and I co-signed loans when she needed more cash flow. In return, I asked for a minority stake in the company, 40%, enough to protect my investment, not enough to interfere with her vision. She agreed. We drafted a partnership agreement with the help of a lawyer she found online. I signed it without reading too carefully because I trusted her. We got married a year later. Marjorie didn't come to the wedding. She claimed she had a conflict, some trip she'd already booked, but Tara and I both knew the truth. Marjorie didn't approve of me. I wasn't exciting enough. I wasn't creative or artistic. I sold shoes for other people, not for myself. She'll come around, Tara said at the time. She never did. Instead, Marjorie moved closer. She started showing up at our apartment unannounced. She joined Tara for coffee every Sunday. She gave advice on the business, on our marriage, on how Tara should spend her time. And slowly, Tara started to change. She stopped asking my opinion on big decisions. She stopped thanking me when I fixed problems with suppliers or smoothed over issues with buyers. She started using phrases like my business and my success as if I'd never been part of it. Thus, at first, I told myself it was just confidence. She was finding her voice, building her identity. But it wasn't that. It was erasure. 3 nights before the Japan trip, Marjorie hosted a family dinner at her house in the suburbs. It was supposed to be a small gathering, just Tara, me, Marjorie, and a few relatives from Tara's side. I drove us there in silence. Tara spent the whole ride texting her mother, laughing at something on her screen. Marjorie's house was large and immaculate. White furniture, abstract art on the walls, everything carefully arranged to look effortless. When we arrived, the living room was already full. Tara's cousin, a woman named Jessica who worked in marketing. Tara's aunt, who I'd met maybe twice, a handful of other people I didn't recognize. Marjorie greeted us at the door. She hugged Tara, then glanced at me. "Erin, you made it." "Wouldn't miss it," I said. She smiled thinly and led us inside. The dinner was catered. Expensive. Marjorie made a point of telling everyone how much she'd spent, as if the price tag made the food taste better. We sat around the dining table, and Marjorie raised her glass. "To Tara," she said, "and to the courage it takes to build something from nothing." Everyone clinked glasses. I drank my wine and said nothing. Tara beamed. "I couldn't have done it without Mom's support. And your own intuition," Marjorie added. "That's what separates the dreamers from the doers. Women's intuition." Jessica nodded enthusiastically. "It's so inspiring. You just took a risk and made it work." I set down my glass. She also had some help with the capital. The table went quiet. Marjorie looked at me. "Of course, Erin's been very supportive." "I gave her $600,000, I said evenly, "and supplier contacts, and wholesale relationships." Tara's face flushed. "Erin, I'm just clarifying," I said, "since we're talking about how it all happened." Marjorie's smile hardened. "Money is important, Erin, but vision is what makes a business succeed. Tara had the vision." "Right," I said. "Vision." The conversation moved on. Tara glared at me across the table, but I didn't care. Later, after dessert, the group gathered in the living room. Marjorie and Tara sat on the couch, flipping through photos on a tablet, planning the Japan trip. The relatives crowded around them, offering suggestions, laughing at inside jokes. I sat in a chair by the window, holding a glass of wine I wasn't drinking. Jessica walked over and sat on the armrest. "You okay?" "Fine." "Must be tough," she said. "Staying home while they go on this big trip." I looked at her. "Yeah, tough." She smiled sympathetically. "But someone has to keep things running, right? You're good at that. The boring stuff." I didn't respond. From across the room, Marjorie's voice rose above the chatter. "Erin's very practical. He'll make sure everything's taken care of while we're gone." A few people laughed. Not cruel laughter, just casual. The kind of laughter that assumes everyone's in on the joke. I stood and set my glass on the side table. "I'm going to step outside." Tara didn't look up. I stood in Marjorie's driveway for a long time, staring at the manicured lawn, the decorative lights strung along the porch. My phone buzzed. Bank notification. Another charge. Tara's business account. $1,600 for travel skincare products. I opened the notification and stared at it. Then I opened my calendar app. The reminder was still there, highlighted in red. Partnership Agreement, Year 3. Review. 3 years. The contract allowed either party to request a review after 3 years, to renegotiate terms, to sell shares. I hadn't thought about it in months. Now it was all I could think about. I pulled up my contacts and scrolled to a name I hadn't called in years. Owen Park, a guy I'd gone to college with. He'd become a corporate lawyer, specializing in shareholder disputes and contract law. I sent him a text. "Need to talk. Business matter. You available this week?" The reply came 2 minutes later. "Free tomorrow. Coffee?" I typed back. "Yeah, I'll send you a time." I slipped the phone into my pocket and walked back inside. The laughter from the living room echoed through the house. Tara and Marjorie, surrounded by family, planning their perfect trip. I stood in the doorway and watched them for a moment. Then I turned and headed for the car. The house was quiet when we got home that night. Tara went straight to the bedroom without saying a word. I could hear her moving around, opening drawers, zipping up her suitcase. I sat on the couch in the living room and opened my laptop. The partnership agreement was still in my email, buried in a folder I hadn't touched in years. I clicked it open and read through the whole thing this time. Every clause, every line. It was straightforward. I owned 40% of Tara Lane Boutique, LLC. I had the right to transfer or sell my shares at fair market value after a 3-year review period. The review period had started last month. I also had the right to withdraw any personal guarantees I'd made to banks or suppliers. I sat back and stared at the screen. Personal guarantees. I'd co-signed 2 loans for Tara's business, one for inventory, one for the storefront lease. If I withdrew those guarantees, the banks would either demand new collateral or call the loans. I also had standing agreements with 3 factories and 2 wholesale buyers. They gave Tara preferential pricing and priority shipping because of me, because they trusted me. If I asked them to stop, they would. I closed the laptop and rubbed my eyes. This wasn't anger. It wasn't even revenge. It was clarity. They'd excluded me, erased me, treated me like a wallet with legs. Fine, let's see how they did without the wallet. The next morning, I met Owen at a quiet cafe near the courthouse. It was the kind of place where lawyers met clients before hearings. Neutral, anonymous, nobody paid attention to anyone else. Owen looked the same as he had in college. Thin, wire-rimmed glasses, the kind of calm demeanor that made people trust him immediately. He was wearing a suit and carrying a leather briefcase. We shook hands and sat down at a corner table. "Long time," he said. "Yeah." He ordered coffee. I ordered tea. When the server left, Owen leaned back in his chair and studied me. "So, what's going on?" I told him. "Not everything, just the essentials." I'd invested $600,000 in my wife's business. I held a 40% stake. The partnership agreement allowed me to sell after 3 years. The house we lived in was in my name. I'd bought it before we got married, paid off the mortgage with savings and commissions. Owen listened without interrupting. When I finished, he tapped his fingers on the table. "And you want out." "I want control," I said. "I want to know what I can do, legally." He nodded. "Okay, first question. Does she know you're thinking about this?" "No." "Good. Keep it that way." He pulled a notepad from his briefcase and started writing. "You own the house outright. That's yours. No question. You can rent it, sell it, whatever you want. She has no claim unless there's a written agreement saying otherwise." "There isn't." "Good. Second, the partnership agreement. If it's a standard minority shareholder deal, you can sell your shares to anyone willing to buy them. She can't stop you. You just need a fair market valuation." "How do I get that?" "I know people. I'll make some calls." He looked up from the notepad. "Third, personal guarantees. If you're co-signed on her loans or contracts, you can withdraw those. But it'll trigger consequences. Banks will reassess her creditworthiness. Suppliers might renegotiate terms." "That's fine." Owen raised an eyebrow. "You sure? This could hurt her business?" "She made it clear I'm not part of the family," I said. "So I'm not part of the business either." He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. "Fair enough." We talked for another 20 minutes. Owen explained the process, the timelines, the legal steps. He said he'd draft a letter to Tara's bank withdrawing my guarantees. He'd also reach out to potential buyers for my shares, competitors, investors, anyone who might want a stake in a growing boutique. "One thing," Owen said as we stood to leave. "Once you do this, there's no going back. She's going to be angry. Her mother's going to be furious. You ready for that?" I thought about the text message, the laughter on speakerphone, the empty seat at the Japan planning sessions. "Yeah," I said, "I'm ready." That night, Tara came home late. She'd been at the boutique all day, finalizing inventory before the trip. She dropped her bag by the door and kicked off her shoes. "I'm exhausted." "Long day?" "You have no idea." She walked to the kitchen and poured herself a glass of wine. "The spring line is a nightmare. Half the stock is delayed, and I've got 3 big orders that need to ship next week." "Sounds stressful." "It is." She took a sip and leaned against the counter. "But it's worth it. The business is finally starting to feel real, you know?" I nodded. She looked at me. "You've been quiet lately." "Just busy." "With work?" "Yeah." She studied me for a moment, then shrugged. "Well, don't burn out. Someone has to hold down the fort while I'm gone." She walked to the bedroom, taking her wine with her. I stayed in the kitchen, staring at the counter. My phone buzzed. A text from Tara. "Can you send me another 5,000? Mom wants to book a private tea ceremony in Kyoto. It'll be amazing." I read the message twice. Then I opened my laptop and created a new folder. I named it Plan. I dragged in copies of the partnership agreement, the house deed, screenshots of bank transactions, the text message about being excluded from the trip. Then I backed everything up to the cloud. When I was done, I closed the laptop and sat in the dark. Tara's voice drifted from the bedroom. She was on the phone with Marjorie, laughing about something. I listened for a moment. Then I opened my phone and transferred the $5,000. One last time. The factory floor was loud, machines humming, workers moving between stations, the smell of leather and rubber thick in the air. I walked through the main production area and headed upstairs to the offices. The sales department was open plan, rows of desks separated by low dividers. My desk was near the window, overlooking the parking lot. Nadia Flores was already there, leaning against my desk with a coffee in hand. She was 29, sharp, efficient. She'd been with the company for 4 years, and she knew the wholesale accounts better than anyone. "Morning," she said. "Morning." I sat down and opened my laptop. Nadia pulled up a chair. I've been looking at the Q3 numbers, she said. We're doing well. The Italian line is moving fast, but there's something I wanted to flag. What's that? Tara's boutique. They've been ordering a lot of stock lately. Priority shipping, preferential pricing. It's fine, but some of the other accounts are starting to notice. I nodded. How much are we giving them? About 15% off standard pricing, plus they're getting first pick on new releases. And the other accounts? They're paying full price. A few of them have asked why. I leaned back in my chair. What did you tell them? That it's a strategic partnership, but honestly, Aaron, it's starting to feel like favoritism. If we keep prioritizing one boutique, we're going to lose bigger fish. I thought about that. Which accounts are complaining? Branson's, West Coast Footwear, and that new chain in Texas, Luxe Steps. Those were big names. Branson's alone moved more volume in a month than Tara's boutique did in a year. Okay, I said, let's make some changes. Nadia raised an eyebrow. What kind of changes? Standard pricing for everyone. No more preferential treatment. And we prioritize accounts based on order volume, not personal relationships. She blinked. You sure? Tara's going to notice. I know. Nadia studied me for a moment, then nodded. All right, I'll start drafting the new terms. When do you want this to go into effect? Next week. Next week? That's fast. It needs to be fast. She didn't ask why. She just nodded and stood up. I'll get it done. After she left, I opened my email and started going through supplier contracts. 3 factories, 1 in Italy, 2 in Portugal, had standing agreements with me. They trusted my judgment. They gave me priority access to new designs and limited run materials. Tara's boutique relied on those agreements. I drafted an email to each factory, explaining that I'd be shifting my focus to larger accounts and that Tara Lane Boutique would need to negotiate their own terms moving forward. I didn't send the emails, not yet, but I saved them in drafts. That afternoon, I went to the bank. It was a small branch downtown, the kind of place where you could sit with a loan officer in a glass-walled office and have a real conversation. I'd called ahead and made an appointment. The officer's name was Linda. She was in her 40s, friendly but professional. Mr. Keller, she said, shaking my hand. What can I do for you today? I need to discuss some account changes. Of course. What kind of changes? I explained that I wanted to separate my personal accounts from the joint accounts I shared with Tara. I also wanted to review the 2 loans I'd co-signed for her business. Linda pulled up my file on her computer. Okay, let's start with the joint accounts. You want to remove your automatic transfers? Yes. That's easy. I can process that today. As for the loans, she scrolled through the file. You co-signed 2 loans for Tara Lane Boutique, LLC. One for $50,000, one for $75,000. Both are in good standing. What happens if I withdraw my guarantee? Linda frowned. Well, the bank would reassess the borrower's creditworthiness. If Ms. Lane can't provide alternative collateral or a new co-signer, we'd likely call the loans. And if she can't pay? Then we'd pursue collection, but it's a last resort. I nodded. Understood. How do I withdraw the guarantee? I'll need to draft a formal letter. You'll sign it, we'll send it to the loan department, and they'll contact Ms. Lane. How long does that take? A few days, maybe a week. Can we expedite it? She looked at me carefully. Is there a reason for the urgency? I just want to move forward. Linda nodded slowly. All right, I'll prioritize it. You should have the paperwork ready by the end of the week. Thank you. As I stood to leave, Linda hesitated. Mr. Keller, if you don't mind me asking, is everything okay? I looked at her. Everything's fine. I'm just taking control of my finances. She smiled politely. Of course. The next stop was a small office in a strip mall near the freeway. Liam Cho, property manager and real estate agent. He was young, maybe 27, with the kind of eager energy that made you trust him even if you didn't want to. I'd found him online, read a few reviews, and set up a meeting. His office was cramped but organized. Stacks of rental agreements on the desk, a wall of keys hanging on hooks. Mr. Keller, he said, standing to shake my hand. Good to meet you. You said you were interested in renting out a property? Maybe. I'm exploring options. Great. Tell me about the property. I gave him the address, a 3-bedroom house in a good neighborhood, fully paid off, no mortgage. Liam nodded, taking notes. Nice area. Rental market's strong there. You thinking short-term or long-term? Long-term, 6 months to a year. Perfect. I can help with that. We'd need to do a walkthrough, set a price, screen tenants. The whole process takes a few weeks, but we can move faster if needed. How fast? He shrugged. If you're serious, a week, maybe 2. We've got a waiting list of clients looking for places in that area. I leaned back in my chair. And the lease. That would be between me and the tenants, right? No one else? Correct. You're the owner. You sign the lease. I just facilitate. What if someone tries to claim they have a right to the property? Liam raised an eyebrow. Like a spouse? Hypothetically. He smiled. If you're the sole owner and there's no written agreement giving them rights, they don't have a leg to stand on. The lease is yours to sign. I nodded. Good to know. Liam handed me a business card. Think it over. If you want to move forward, just give me a call. I'll make it happen. I took the card and stood. I'll be in touch. That night, Tara was on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She looked up when I walked in. Hey, how was work? Busy. Yeah, me too. I finalized the spring orders. We're going to crush it. That's great. She smiled and went back to her phone. I sat down at the kitchen table and opened my laptop. The plan folder was waiting. I added Linda's notes from the bank, Liam's business card, the draft emails to the factories. Everything was in place. I just needed to wait. Tara's voice drifted from the living room. Oh, by the way, Mom's coming over tomorrow for a farewell dinner, just the 3 of us. I didn't look up. Sure. She's really excited. This trip means a lot to her. I'm sure it does. Tara laughed softly. You're being weird. Just tired. She didn't push it. I saved the files and closed the laptop. Outside, the city hummed. Cars passing, lights flickering on in the buildings across the street. I sat in the quiet and felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just calm. The farewell dinner was Marjorie's idea. She wanted one last gathering before the trip, a chance to send them off properly. Tara agreed, and I was informed rather than invited. We met at a restaurant downtown, upscale. White tablecloths, dim lighting, a wine list thicker than a phone book. Marjorie had reserved a private corner table. She was already there when Tara and I arrived, sitting with a glass of red wine and a satisfied smile. There they are, she said, standing to hug Tara. She glanced at me. Aaron. Marjorie. We sat down. A server appeared immediately, reciting specials and pouring water. Marjorie ordered for the table without asking what anyone wanted. This is on me, she said. A little celebration. Tara beamed. You didn't have to do that. Of course I did. This trip is special. Just the 2 of us. She looked at me. Aaron, you'll be fine holding down the fort, won't you? I'll manage. Good. She sipped her wine. It's important for women to have their own space, their own time. Men don't always understand that. Tara nodded. It's going to be amazing. Just us. No distractions. I picked up my water glass and said nothing. The food arrived. Expensive steaks, roasted vegetables, some kind of truffle sauce that smelled like dirt. Marjorie kept talking about the itinerary, the hotels, the temples they'd visit, the photos they'd take. I've already planned our outfits for each day, she said. We'll look perfect in every picture. This is a once-in-a-lifetime trip. Tara laughed. Mom, you're obsessed. I'm thorough. Marjorie turned to me. Aaron, you'll make sure the bills are paid while we're gone, right? The boutique rent, the utilities, all of that? Sure. And if anything comes up with the business, just handle it. Tara shouldn't have to worry about boring details while she's traveling. I set down my fork. Boring details. You know what I mean. Paperwork, supplier issues. That's your thing. Tara reached across the table and patted my hand. You're so good at that stuff. I don't know what I'd do without you. Her tone was light, dismissive. I pulled my hand back and picked up my fork again. Marjorie leaned back in her chair, smiling. Men like Aaron are lucky just to provide. It's a gift, really, knowing your role. A few people at nearby tables glanced over. No one said anything. I finished my steak in silence. The next morning, I met Owen at the same cafe. He had a folder with him this time. Got the valuations, he said, sliding the folder across the table. Your 40% stake in Tara Lane Boutique LLC is worth about $280,000, give or take. I flipped through the pages. Numbers, projections, market comparisons. That's lower than what I put in. Yeah, the business is profitable, but it's still small. High overhead, inconsistent cash flow. It's a boutique, not a chain. Can I sell it? Absolutely. I've already reached out to a few buyers. There's a venture group that invests in small fashion brands. They're interested. How fast can we move? Fast. If you want this done before she gets back from Japan, I can have the paperwork ready by tomorrow. You sign, they sign, I file it with the state. Done. I nodded. Do it. Owen studied me. You're sure? I'm sure. Okay. He pulled out another document. This is the letter withdrawing your personal guarantees. I sent it to the bank yesterday. They'll process it within 48 hours. What about the house? House is yours. Free and clear. If you want to rent it, I'd recommend doing it now, before she gets back. I've already talked to a property manager. Owen raised an eyebrow. You move fast. I've had 3 years to think about this, he smiled. Fair enough. We talked for another hour, going over logistics. Owen would handle the share sale. The bank would contact Tara about the loans. Liam would finalize the rental agreement. Everything was moving. When we stood to leave, Owen shook my hand. One last thing. When this goes down, she's going to fight. Lawyers, threats, maybe public pressure. You ready for that? I thought about the text message, the laughter, the empty seat at the dinner table. Let her fight, I said. That afternoon, I called Nadia. I need you to send those emails, I said. The ones about changing terms for Tara's boutique. You sure? Positive. Send them today. All right. Anything else? Yeah. If any of the factories or buyers ask why, tell them I'm refocusing on larger accounts. Keep it professional. Got it. I hung up and stared at my phone. The plan was in motion. I walked through the apartment, looking at everything. The couch we'd picked out together, the coffee table I'd assembled, the photos on the wall, our wedding, vacations, family gatherings. I took down the wedding photo, slid it into a box. Then I started packing. Clothes, books, my laptop, anything that mattered. It didn't take long. By the time Tara got home that evening, I'd moved most of my things into my car. She didn't notice. She was too busy talking on the phone with Marjorie, finalizing last-minute details. I sat on the couch and listened to her laugh. Tomorrow they'd leave for Japan, and everything would change. The airport was crowded. I helped them load their suitcases onto a cart and walk them to the security line. Tara hugged me. Thanks for driving us. No problem. Marjorie smiled. Take care of things while we're gone, Aaron. Don't let anything fall apart. I won't. They turned and walked toward security. Tara looked back once, waving. I waved back. Then they were gone. I stood there for a moment, watching the crowd flow past me. Then I walked back to the car. My phone buzzed. A message from Liam. Tenants confirmed. Move in next Friday. Another message from Owen. Share sale finalized, documents filed, effective immediately. I sat in the driver's seat and stared at the messages. Then I started the engine and drove home. The apartment was quiet, empty. I packed the last of my things. Took a final walk through the rooms. This place wasn't mine anymore. It never really was. I locked the door behind me and left the key on the kitchen counter. By the time the sun set, I was in a new apartment across town. Smaller, cheaper, mine. I stood at the window, looking out at the city lights. 2 weeks. That's how long they'd be gone. 2 weeks for everything to settle. I smiled. The boutique was the first to feel it. Tara's spring orders were supposed to ship on Monday. Priority stock, guaranteed delivery, all arranged through my factory contacts, except the contacts weren't mine anymore. The factories got Nadia's email on Friday. By Monday morning, they'd adjusted their terms. Standard pricing, no priority shipping, no preferential treatment. Tara's boutique manager called me on Tuesday. Her voice was frantic. Aaron, I don't know what happened, but the spring stock isn't here. The factories are saying there's been a delay. Do you know anything about this? I'm not involved with the boutique anymore, I said calmly. You'll need to talk to Tara. She's in Japan. She's not answering her phone. Then I guess you'll have to wait. She hung up. I sat at my new desk in my new apartment and opened my laptop. The plan folder was still there, now filled with confirmation emails. Share sale complete. Loan guarantees withdrawn. Rental agreement signed. Everything was done. Wednesday morning, the bank called Tara. I didn't hear the conversation. I just saw the aftermath. My phone buzzed with a text from Tara. All caps. What did you do? The bank is calling my loans. They say you withdrew your guarantee. Call me now. I read the message twice. Then I turned off my phone. Thursday, the suppliers started reaching out to Tara directly. They needed new payment terms, new contracts. They couldn't rely on Aaron Keller's name anymore. Tara tried calling me 17 times that day. I didn't answer. Friday morning, I met Liam at the house. The new tenants were already there, a young couple, both professionals, clean credit, steady income. They were excited, talking about furniture arrangements, asking questions about the neighborhood. Liam handed me the signed lease. All set. First month's rent is already in your account. Thanks. He smiled. You made this easy. Most people drag their feet on stuff like this. I shook his hand. I appreciate it. The tenants moved in that afternoon. I watched from across the street as they carried boxes through the front door. Then I got in my car and drove to my new place. Saturday, Tara sent me an email. Long, angry, full of accusations. She said I was sabotaging her business, that I was cruel, that I'd betrayed her trust. She said Marjorie was furious. She said I'd regret this. I deleted the email without responding. Sunday, Owen called. They're back tomorrow, he said. You ready? Yeah. She's going to come at you hard. You need to stay calm. Don't engage, don't argue, just state the facts. I know. Good luck. I hung up and stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow. Monday morning, I drove to the house, parked down the street, waited. Liam was inside with the tenants, helping them settle in. I'd asked him to be there when Tara and Marjorie arrived, just in case. At 11:30, a cab pulled up to the curb. Tara and Marjorie stepped out. They looked tired, jet-lagged. Tara was pulling 2 suitcases. Marjorie had a large bag slung over her shoulder. They walked up the driveway, talking quietly. Tara pulled out her key and tried the front door. It didn't work. She tried again. Nothing. Marjorie frowned. What's wrong? The lock. It's not working. Did you bring the wrong key? No, this is the right key. Tara knocked on the door. Once, twice. It opened. Liam stood in the doorway, smiling politely. Can I help you? Tara blinked. Who are you? Liam Cho, property manager. And you are? I live here. What are you doing in my house? Liam glanced at a clipboard in his hand. I'm sorry, but this property is currently leased to new tenants. They moved in last Friday. Marjorie stepped forward. That's impossible. My daughter lives here, with her husband. Ma'am, I'm just the property manager. The owner arranged the lease. If there's a dispute, you'll need to take it up with him. Tara's face went pale. The owner? Aaron. Liam nodded. Yes, Mr. Keller. I stepped out of my car and walked up the driveway. Tara turned and saw me. Her expression shifted from confusion to fury in an instant. What the hell is this? She shouted. I stopped a few feet away, hands in my pockets. I rented out the house. You what? I rented it out. The property's in my name. I'm the sole owner. I decided to lease it. Marjorie's voice was shrill. You can't do that. This is Tara's home. No, I said calmly. It's my house. I bought it before we got married, paid off the mortgage with my own money. Tara never had any legal claim to it. Tara's hands were shaking. Where are we supposed to live? That's not my problem. Aaron. You made it very clear that I'm not part of the family, I said, so I stopped acting like I was. Marjorie stepped closer. You're doing this because of the trip? Because we didn't invite you to Japan? No, I'm doing this because you've spent 3 years treating me like a wallet. Like I don't matter, like I'm just here to pay for your lives while you erase me from the story. Tara's voice cracked. You did. I looked at her. You took my money, my contacts, my support, and you acted like you built everything yourself. You and your mother, the two of you. That's not fair. It's completely fair. I pulled out my phone and opened an email. I sold my shares in your company last week, 40% stake, $280,000. The buyer's a venture group. They'll be in touch. Tara's face went white. You sold my company? I sold my shares in your company, which I was legally entitled to do. You can't. I already did. Marjorie was shaking with rage. You're a coward, a petty small man. I looked at her. I'm the man who paid for your daughter's business, who co-signed her loans, who gave her access to my suppliers and my buyers, and when you decided I wasn't real family, I decided to take all of that back. You're destroying her. No, I'm letting her stand on her own, like she always said she could. Tara was crying now. Aaron, please. I also withdrew my personal guarantees on your loans, I said. The bank called last week. They're reassessing your credit. If you can't provide new collateral, they'll call the loans. I can't pay those loans without you. I know. She stared at me. You're ruining me. No, I'm just not supporting you anymore. There's a difference. Behind us, the tenant stepped out onto the porch. A young woman with a kind face. Is everything okay? Liam nodded. Everything's fine. Just a misunderstanding. Tara turned to the tenants. This is my house. You need to leave. The woman frowned. We signed a lease. We paid first and last month's rent. I don't care. Tara. I kept my voice calm. They have a legal lease. Signed by me, the owner. You're trespassing right now. Her phone buzzed. She looked at it. Her face went even paler. What? Marjorie demanded. The boutique. Tara's voice was barely a whisper. The suppliers. They're all canceling our agreements. They're saying they only worked with us because of Aaron. I didn't say anything. Tara looked up at me. You did this. I stopped doing you favors, that's all. You're a monster. No, I'm just not your ATM anymore. Marjorie grabbed Tara's arm. Come on, we'll call a lawyer. We'll fix this. There's nothing to fix, I said. Everything I did was legal. The house is mine. The shares were mine. The guarantees were mine. I had every right to take it all back. Tara was sobbing now. I loved you. No, I said quietly. You loved what I gave you. There's a difference. I turned and walked back to my car. Behind me, I could hear Marjorie shouting, Tara crying, the tenants closing the door. I got in the car, started the engine, and drove away. I didn't look back. The calls started that night. Tara, Marjorie, Tara's cousin, even the boutique manager. I didn't answer any of them. I sat in my new apartment, a small one-bedroom place with bare walls and a view of the parking lot, and listened to my phone buzz over and over. Eventually, I turned it off. The silence was perfect. By Tuesday, Tara had hired a lawyer. Owen called me. She's threatening to sue. For what? Emotional distress. Sabotage. She's claiming you conspired to destroy her business. Did I? No. You exercised your legal rights. You sold shares you owned. You withdrew guarantees you were entitled to withdraw. You rented out a house you legally own. There's no case. So, what do I do? Nothing. Let her lawyer waste her money. If she actually files, I'll handle it. But she won't. She knows she doesn't have a leg to stand on. I nodded. Okay. Aaron? Yeah. You did the right thing. I hung up. Wednesday, Tara's boutique manager quit. I found out from Nadia, who heard it through the supplier grapevine. She couldn't handle the chaos, Nadia said. No stock, no money, angry customers. Tara's scrambling to keep the store open. That's not my problem. I know, I'm just saying. You really hit her where it hurt. She hit me first, Nadia smiled. Fair enough. Thursday, I went back to work full-time. The factory felt normal, safe. People treated me with respect. They listened when I talked. They didn't erase me or dismiss me. I closed 3 new deals that week. Big accounts, the kind that made the company's quarterly numbers look good. My boss called me into his office on Friday. Aaron, I don't know what you've been doing, but keep it up. Sales are through the roof. Just focusing on the right priorities. He nodded. Good. We're promoting you. Regional director, more responsibility, bigger commission. I shook his hand. Thanks. When I left his office, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Pride. Friday evening, I got a text from Owen. Tara dropped the lawsuit. Her lawyer told her she didn't have a case. I read the message and smiled. Saturday, I went to the gym. Ate lunch at a quiet diner. Walked through a park near my new apartment. I felt light, free. For the first time in years, I wasn't carrying anyone else's weight. Sunday, Marjorie called. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. What do you want? I said. Her voice was cold. You've destroyed my daughter's life. No, I stopped funding it. She's losing everything, the boutique, the house, her reputation. That's what happens when you build a life on someone else's back and then pretend they don't exist. You're a vindictive, cruel man. I'm a man who got tired of being used. She loved you. She loved my money and your approval. She never loved me. There was a long silence. Then Marjorie spoke again, her voice quieter. What do you want from us? Nothing. I don't want anything from you. I just want you to leave me alone. Aaron, I hung up. Monday, I got an email from Tara. The subject line was simple. I'm sorry. I opened it. Aaron, I know you won't forgive me. I know I hurt you, but I need you to understand. I didn't see it. I didn't see what I was doing. My mom, she made me believe that I had to choose. Her or you, family or marriage. And I chose wrong. I see that now. I'm sorry. I don't expect you to help me. I don't expect you to come back. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. I read it twice. Then I deleted it. Tuesday, I moved the last of my things into the new apartment. It was small, simple, but it was mine. I stood in the living room, looking around at the bare walls, the second-hand couch, the single lamp in the corner. It wasn't much, but it was enough. Wednesday, Nadia and I had lunch. "You seem different," she said. "Different how?" "Lighter, happier." I smiled. "I am." "Good. You deserve it." We talked about work, about new accounts, about the future. It felt good to talk about the future. Thursday, I got a text from Liam. "Tenants are great. No issues. Thanks for the business." I replied, "Glad it worked out." Friday, I sat in my apartment and opened my laptop. The plan folder was still there. I scrolled through the files, the partnership agreement, the house deed, the bank statements, the text message from Tara. I looked at them for a long time. Then I deleted the folder. I didn't need it anymore. Saturday, I went for a drive. I didn't have a destination. I just drove. Through the city, out to the suburbs, along the coast. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. I pulled over at a beach and got out of the car. The air was cool. The waves were loud. I stood there, hands in my pockets, watching the ocean. For the first time in years, I felt at peace. Sunday, I woke up early, made coffee, read the news, went for a run. My phone was quiet. No calls from Tara, no texts from Marjorie, just silence. It was perfect. I sat on my couch and thought about the last 3 weeks. Everything I'd lost, everything I'd gained, the house, the business, the marriage. I'd let go of all of it, and I was okay. Better than okay. I was free. Monday morning, I went back to work. The factory was busy. Orders coming in, deals closing. Nadia waved at me from across the office. I waved back. My boss stopped by my desk. "Got a new account for you. Big retailer. They want to meet next week." "I'll be there." He clapped me on the shoulder. "Good man." I opened my laptop and started working. The day passed quickly. By the time I left, the sun was setting. I drove home slowly, taking the long way, enjoying the quiet. When I got to my apartment, I stood in the doorway for a moment, looking at the simple space I'd built for myself. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine, and that was enough. I closed the door behind me and smiled. The weeks blurred together in the best way possible. Work became a rhythm, accounts growing, deals closing, my name on contracts that mattered. The promotion to regional director came with a private office and a view of the city skyline. Nadia joked that I'd finally gotten the recognition I deserved. "You were always the guy keeping this place running," she said over coffee one morning. "People just didn't see it." "They see it now," she smiled. "Yeah, they do." The new apartment stopped feeling temporary. I bought furniture, real furniture, not the hand-me-downs Tara had picked out years ago. A solid wood desk, a comfortable chair, bookshelves that I filled slowly, deliberately, with things I actually wanted to read. I hung art on the walls, nothing expensive, just pieces I liked, a landscape, a black and white photograph of a city street at night. It felt like mine. Every morning, I woke up without the weight of someone else's expectations pressing down on me. No one asking for money, no one dismissing my work, no one laughing at me on speakerphone. Just me, my choices, my life. Owen and I met for drinks one Thursday evening. He looked at me over his whiskey and grinned. "You know, Tara's lawyer contacted me again." "About what?" "She wanted to negotiate. Something about finding a fair resolution." I told her there was nothing to negotiate. "You exercised your legal rights. End of story." And she hung up. He laughed. "I think they're finally realizing you're not coming back." "Good." "How do you feel about it?" I thought about that. Relieved. "No regrets?" "None." Owen raised his glass. "To freedom." I clinked mine against his. "To freedom." I started going to the gym regularly, running in the mornings, lifting weights in the evenings. My body felt stronger, my mind felt clearer. At work, I was sharper, more focused. I closed deals I wouldn't have even attempted before because I believed I could do it, and I did. One afternoon, the CEO called me into his office. He was an older man, silver-haired, sharp-eyed. He'd built the company from nothing 30 years ago. "Aaron," he said, gesturing to a chair. "Sit." I sat. He leaned back and studied me. "You've been here how long?" 8 years. 8 years, and in the last 2 months, you've brought in more revenue than some of my guys do in a year. I've been focused. Focused. He laughed. That's one word for it. What changed? I thought about how to answer. I stopped carrying weight that wasn't mine. He nodded slowly. Smart. A lot of people never figure that out. He slid a folder across the desk. This is a new contract. VP of Sales. Company car, stock options. You've earned it. I opened the folder and looked at the numbers. It was more than I'd ever made, more than I'd thought I could make. Thank you, I said. Don't thank me. You did the work. He stood and shook my hand. Keep it up. When I left his office, Nadia was waiting in the hallway. She saw the folder in my hand and grinned. VP? VP. She laughed and hugged me. About time. I stopped checking my phone obsessively, stopped waiting for messages from Tara or Marjorie. They'd tried a few more times, emails, texts, even a letter delivered to my office. All of them said the same thing. We need to talk. We can fix this. Please. I didn't respond. There was nothing to fix, nothing to talk about. They'd made their choices. I'd made mine. One Saturday, I drove out to the coast, the same beach I'd visited weeks ago. The water was cold. The wind was sharp. I stood at the edge of the sand and watched the waves crash against the rocks. A family walked past, mother, father, 2 kids. The kids were laughing, chasing each other, throwing sand. I watched them for a moment and smiled. I didn't feel jealous. I didn't feel sad. I just felt content. Sunday evening, I sat in my apartment and looked at the city lights through the window. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Aaron, this is Jessica, Tara's cousin. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry for how we treated you. You didn't deserve that. I hope you're doing okay. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back, I'm doing great, thanks. I set the phone down and leaned back in my chair. The apartment was quiet, peaceful. I closed my eyes and let the silence wash over me. For the first time in years, I felt whole. The boutique closed in October. I heard about it from Nadia, who heard about it from a supplier. Tara had tried to keep it open, but without my contacts, without my guarantees, without my money, it just wasn't sustainable. Gosh, she's selling off the inventory, Nadia said. Everything must go, 50% off. Good for her. You're not even curious? No, Nadia studied me. You really don't care anymore. I really don't, she smiled. Good. I bought a house in November, not the old house. That was still rented to the couple who'd moved in, and they were good tenants, paid on time, kept the place clean. I had no reason to change anything. This was a new house, smaller, in a quieter neighborhood. A 2-bedroom bungalow with a backyard and a garage. I walked through it with the realtor, a cheerful woman in her 50s who talked too much but knew the area well. This is perfect for a single professional, she said, or a couple just starting out. You married? Divorced. Oh, I'm sorry. Don't be, she smiled. Well, I think you'll love this place. It's got good bones. I looked around the empty living room. Sunlight streamed through the windows. The floors were hardwood. The walls were white and clean. I'll take it, I said. I moved in 2 weeks later. It didn't take long. I didn't have much. Just the furniture from the apartment, my clothes, my books. But it felt like enough. I spent the first night sitting on the back porch, drinking a beer and looking at the stars. The neighborhood was quiet. No traffic, no sirens, just the sound of crickets and the occasional dog barking in the distance. I thought about Tara, about Marjorie, about the life I'd walked away from, and I felt nothing. No anger, no regret, just peace. Work kept getting better. As VP of Sales, I had more control, more authority. I hired 3 new people for my team, all smart, hungry, willing to work hard. Nadia became my right hand. She was sharp, efficient, and she didn't take nonsense from anyone. We make a good team, she said one afternoon. We do. You ever think about starting your own company? I raised an eyebrow. Why? Because you could. You've got the contacts, the experience, the reputation. People would follow you. I thought about that. Maybe someday. Well, if you do, let me know. I'm in. I smiled. I'll keep that in mind. December came fast. The holidays were strange. For years, I'd spent them with Tara and Marjorie. Awkward dinners, forced smiles. Gifts I didn't want, but felt obligated to give. This year, I spent Christmas alone. I made a steak, poured a glass of wine, watched a movie. It was quiet, and it was perfect. New Year's Eve, I went to a party at Owen's house. It was small, just a few friends, good food, good conversation. At midnight, we stood on Owen's balcony and watched fireworks light up the sky. Owen raised his glass. To new beginnings. Everyone cheered. I clinked my glass against his and smiled. To new beginnings. January brought a new challenge. A major retailer, one of the biggest in the country, wanted to negotiate an exclusive deal with our company. It was a huge opportunity, potentially millions in revenue. The CEO put me in charge. I spent 2 weeks preparing, going over numbers, analyzing contracts, building relationships with their purchasing team. The final meeting was in a glass-walled conference room on the 40th floor of a skyscraper downtown. I walked in with confidence, presented my pitch, answered their questions. When it was over, the head of purchasing shook my hand. "You've got yourself a deal, Mr. Keller." I smiled. "Thank you." When I left the building, I stood on the sidewalk and looked up at the sky. The sun was shining, the city was alive, and I was exactly where I was supposed to be. That night, I sat in my backyard with a beer and thought about how far I'd come. A year ago, I was sitting in a kitchen that didn't feel like mine, married to a woman who didn't see me, funding a life that was never really mine. Now I had a house I owned, a job I loved, a future I controlled. I'd lost a lot, but I'd gained everything that mattered. February brought a surprise. I ran into Jessica at a coffee shop downtown, Tara's cousin, the one who'd texted me months ago. She looked surprised to see me. "Aaron." "Jessica." "I didn't expect to run into you. Small world." She hesitated. "Can I talk to you for a second?" "Sure." We sat at a corner table. She fidgeted with her coffee cup. "I just wanted to say again, I'm sorry for how we treated you. You didn't deserve that. It's okay." "No, it's not. I should have said something. I should have stood up for you." I looked at her. "Why didn't you?" She sighed. "Because Marjorie's intimidating, and Tara was so confident. I just went along with it. But I shouldn't have." "No, you shouldn't have." "I know." She looked up at me. "For what it's worth, Tara's struggling. The boutique closed. She's working at a department store now. Marjorie's not talking to her." I didn't say anything. Jessica continued. "She knows she messed up. She knows she lost something she'll never get back." "Good," I said quietly. Jessica nodded. "Yeah, good." We finished our coffee in silence. When we stood to leave, Jessica hugged me. "I hope you're happy, Aaron?" "I am." "I can tell." She walked away, and I stood there for a moment, watching her go. Then I turned and headed home. March brought the final piece. I was sitting in my office, reviewing contracts, when my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Aaron, this is Tara. I know you don't want to hear from me, but I need to see you. Please, just once." I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to delete it and move on, but another part, a small, curious part, wanted to see what she had to say. I typed back, "When?" The reply came immediately. "Tonight, 6 p.m., the coffee shop on Maple." I hesitated, then I typed, "Fine." I arrived at 6. The coffee shop was quiet. A few people scattered at tables, reading or working on laptops. Tara was already there, sitting in the back corner. She looked different, thinner, tired. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she wasn't wearing makeup. She looked up when I walked in. Her expression was somewhere between hope and fear. I sat down across from her. "Hi," she said quietly. "Hi?" She wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. "Thanks for coming." "What do you want, Tara?" She flinched at my tone. I wanted to see you, to talk." "Okay, talk." She took a deep breath. "I'm sorry. For everything. For how I treated you. For choosing my mother over you. For taking you for granted." I didn't say anything. She continued. "I lost everything, Aaron. The boutique, the house, my relationship with my mom. She blames me for losing you. She says I ruined everything." "You did." "I know." Her voice cracked. "I know. And I can't fix it. I can't undo what I did. But I wanted you to know that I see it now. I see what I lost." I leaned back in my chair. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I need you to know that I'm sorry, that I loved you, that I wish I'd been different." "You didn't love me," I said quietly. "You loved what I gave you. There's a difference." She started crying, quiet tears that rolled down her cheeks. "I did love you. I didn't know how to show it. I didn't know how to balance everything. My mom, the business, you, and I chose wrong." "Yeah, you did." She wiped her eyes. "Are you happy now?" I thought about my house, my job, the life I'd built without her. Yeah, I said. I am. She nodded slowly. Good. You deserve to be happy. We sat in silence for a moment. Then she spoke again. Is there any chance, any at all, that we could try again? I looked at her, really looked at her, and I felt nothing. No love, no anger, no regret. Just nothing. No, I said. There's not. She closed her eyes. Okay. I stood. Take care of yourself, Tara. Aaron? I turned and walked out of the coffee shop. I didn't look back. I drove home slowly, windows down, music playing softly on the radio. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. I thought about the last year, about everything I'd lost, everything I'd gained. I thought about Tara sitting in that coffee shop, crying into her coffee, and I felt relief, not satisfaction, not revenge, just relief. I'd done what I needed to do. I'd protected myself. I'd taken back control, and now I was free.